Fast.
Okay, recording now.
Okay, thank you. We're back again, and this is the Red Impulse. He's the squad leader. He is again secretly Ken's father. And do you remember in the movie Top Gun how, you know, like Tom Cruise came in and he thought it was the hot shot, but then Jester, you know, the instructor, came around and just flew right past him.
Yep.
So you want to talk about that episode? Do you remember it?
Well, yeah, Mark essentially gets schooled by his own father without knowing it. There's this strange admiration keeps building in Mark or Ken, and that's essentially it. I mean, what's really stunning about the series is the storytelling, but they're also the inventiveness of everything. They touch on theatrical or thematic material that is universal.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a picture of the civilian group, and of course, as civilians, they have the number on their shirts, I guess, so in case you mix up their names, you can just call them by their number. So, okay, and we'll go to the next slide. Oh, flirtings, okay. Number 2, Jason likes to flirt with number 3, Princess, who always, or often rebuffs his advances. Do you know what time she actually...
I don't think they ever got together, but Jason considered himself, or Joe, considered himself to be quite the stud, and Princess, she was super feminine as a character.
Right. Okay. And Tiny had a secret crush on her. We know because there was one time he was like looking at her with admiration, and so we can imply that he had a crush on her, even though.
Well, she had a great deal of avuncular affection for a kiosk.
Yeah. No, I mean for Tiny.
Yeah. Oh, Tina. Oh, yeah. Tiny. Yes, you're right.
Okay. And we also know that Princess June has a crush on Ken, also known as Mark.
Mark?
Yeah. You know about that?
She idolizes the leader, but only secretly.
Yeah. And of course, Mark doesn't feel comfortable because he's the leader, and so that he never decided to pursue that.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Your camera's overheating.
Uh-oh.
I'll turn it off for a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Galacticor. Or Galactor, the alien enemy, you can see the Hitler salute is kind of like, it's a fascist thing that they modeled it after, and it was meant to be representative of fascism and stuff like that. And can you tell me, do you know if the alien henchmen are actually alien or were they hired as humans?
I think they may be in the class of Burkotze, where they're like genetically modified or shapeshifters or mutant hermaphrodites like Burkotze.
Right. They were never, it was never explained whether the henchmen were hired locally after the aliens got to Earth or whether they came with them. Okay, because they only travel in one ship, so,
You know what I think is interesting is in the American version of Battle of the Planets, these guys were never shown with their machine guns.
Oh, right.
So they had to clip out a whole lot of stuff. There was a whole phase in American animation where they didn't want to show violence to kids. So when Sandy Frank bought this and started it, so it's unusual for me to see them without their AK-47s.
Right. Yeah, and we'll talk about 7's Arc 7 in a few more slides, so we'll get to it. Okay, Lord Burkotze, otherwise known as Zoltar in Battle of the Planets, he's the commander of the Galacticor, also known as Spectra. It's kind of confusing, but it does have an analogous to the G.I. Joe show, where you have Cobra Commander and he's, does Cobra Commander have someone above him as well? Or?
No, he's completely in charge.
Oh, okay, so it's not exactly analogous, but Zoltar does answer to a person. He is a hermaphrodite, but this was edited out of Battle of the Planets.
American version,
Yeah, the American version had no mention of this at all. And you can see he's wearing lipstick.
Or she.
Or she. It could be.
In the Japanese series, it was you could never really tell, and they made quite a lot of this kind of this fetishistic personality.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. The next one is Leader Sosei, also known as Luminous One, also known as the Great Spirit, also known as the Great Luminous One. He is a alien being, and in the background, the lava is spinning, and he's always giving directions to Zoltar. He doesn't really care about the Earth at all. He's just here for the minerals, but Zoltar actually wants to conquer. So there was some tension between them. Do you remember that?
I do. Zoltar would follow his orders, but he was always kind of saying, "Oh, I'll get you someday."
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. The next one, the first version to the United States was the Battle of Planets. Producers Sandy Frank and Jay Brewer brought Gatchaman over, not only to the United States, but to the Western Hemisphere, because he also resold it to places like Honduras and Argentina. In 1978, the major differences was that if you can take a look at the way the Battle of the Planets is lettered, it reminds you of the 1977 movie Star Wars. And he really, basically, in Gatchaman, the original, everything took place on Earth, whereas opposed to, in Battle of the Planets, do you remember they were like...
They were
always in space. Right?
Doing an establishing shot on some alien planet.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it wasn't just, a battle on Earth, it was actually a battle for the alliance of planets with the Earth. Stuff like that. Yeah.
They played fast and loose with a very well written plot, and so you end up with a Battle of Planets being not worthy of comparison to Gatchaman.
Sure. Okay, and then the next one. The big difference is like you said earlier, they reduced a lot of violence, and we're going to now show you Seven's Arc 7 and his friend One Rover One. This was mainly to attract the younger audience, the Barney the dinosaur.
And he clearly looks like he's based on R2-D2.
Yeah.
And One Rover One, he would have monologues and dialogues with One Rover One who just barked.
Yeah.
And so they lay out a bunch of exposition, and that's essentially how they hijacked Gatchaman. Was Seven's Arc 7 would come out and give a whole bunch of exposition, and then they'd cut to the fight scenes. And
yeah, there's one scene where, in the original, there was a nuclear bomb exploded, and Seven's Arc 7 came back and explained, oh, that was just a small explosion, instead of a nuclear explosion that they cut out. And they said, oh, I'm sure everybody left the building safe before the building blew up.
So which is ad hoc exposition, which makes it even more unbearable to watch. Really, it's the ADV series.
Yeah.
If you're going to watch this, strongly recommend the awesome English title, English language dub for ADV.
Yeah, and the ADV version has no Seven's Arc 7, and if you go to Japan, no one has ever heard of this robot.